Hi, everyone. Welcome to our third town hall, hosted by Creative Abundance Collaborative. Today, we're excited to explore the topic, equipping creative entrepreneurs through creative youth development. Thank you all for introducing yourselves in the chat and completing the poll. Here are the poll results. We're incredibly thankful that you all take time with us, and these results can show the diversity in our group. My name is Shacoi. I use they, them pronouns. And I'll be your host today. I'm a queer, disabled, non-binary professional creative. I tour internationally through DJing, creative groups. And that's all possible through We Are Culture Creators. I recently soft launched my own herbal blend company with the support of some of our business programs called Harley Jane. And like I said, I'm with We Are Culture Creators. I'm a project manager, and I'm one of the first in-house residents that we have. We Are Culture Creators is a nonprofit organization, and we do multi-based production. We operate within the LLC and the 501c3 space because through our nonprofit work, we were missing opportunities for our youth to take some of that commercial business. So we operate in this weird in-between space so that we fill those gaps so that our youth can become their own thing. We had people trying to book us for different shows and DJs, and so we decided that it was best to be able to operate within those spaces. We do internships and business workshops. We actually are going to be launching a new workshop this summer, which I'm really, really excited about. We have a tech program coming to use our facility. And this all really comes from one of our co-creators. His name's Ray's, goes by Ray's Poetry. He worked almost 20 years in Chicago and left with nothing after working in a nonprofit. So that's one of our really big goals, that everyone leaves with something to be able to continue their dream, whether it be a business or be able to market yourself as a business, as a creative. I want to thank you all for joining us to share, learn, and connect. We're going to go over just a review of today's agenda. The Lewis Prize for Music will share entrepreneur data for their Producing Wellbeing report. And then we're going to have some amazing panel speakers, Anj, Victoria, and Alonzo, to discuss how entrepreneurship has helped them succeed and shape their careers. They'll share about the programs that they've been in and share tips for other young entrepreneurs, which I'm really excited about. After that, we'll break into smaller groups for interactive discussion and kind of talk about some of the topics that we talked about in the panel. And then everyone will come back, report, and we'll go around and make sure that everybody shared the things that were talked about in their group so we can hear each other's insights and gain the knowledge that everyone has to share. Just some quick housekeeping. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat. We'll address them during this event as they come up. And also, this session will be recorded for promotional purposes. After the event, we'll send out an email that has the recording, key takeaways, some other resources, and a feedback survey. If you need them, closed captionings are available, so please enable them. Let's get started. First, I would like to introduce Alexis Jackson. She's a data analyst officer for the Lewis Prize of Music. Alexis.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shacoi. Hi, everybody. Alexis Jackson with the Lewis Prize for Music. So happy to be here with you all today. I'm based out of New Orleans, Louisiana. I have an experience in dance and dance education. I've been collaborating with a lot of people the past few years, working on researching and understanding not only CYD, but all of the other amazing elements that Creative Youth Development, or CYD, has as a part of it that make it so important and special for us here today. So I'm going to take us through the basis of the report and also and focus in on what we've learned about entrepreneurship from our report. So the paper focuses on music-based creative youth development approaches to youth-led workforce development. It was built from our lab that includes studies youth narratives, community partner conversations with the goal of being able to promote the collective efforts that support all these incredible programs. The report highlights the transformative impact of programming that are uplifting youth to find their voices. Today's focus is on the importance of entrepreneurship and the youth-based workforce development programming. We know that entrepreneurship is a key element to wealth building. It's also a key factor in breaking down those financial barriers and disparities in our communities. So when looking at where CYD programs focus on impacting their communities, we also know that over 60% of creative youth development programs do focus on economic opportunity in there as an important element for impacting the young people. We also know that the creative economy is based on gig work, contract work, right? So using these creative skills to make money by definition means being an entrepreneur. It's an essential foundation of teaching and youth-based workforce development to also introduce entrepreneurship as well. So looking at some of the things that we learned through this lab, I'm going to take you through those 7 elements. In the paper, we also really know that young people want to make money with their creative skills. Brandon Stepp with the David Hart Foundation shared that this need and desire on part of the young people in his program is what resulted in the launch of their incredible BizPod family business program. We also know how closely and deeply aligned the elements of teaching entrepreneurship are with creative youth development. When we think back to our previous town hall, we had an incredible panelist, Professor Adriana Galvin, working with the Center for Developing Adolescence. Her research and the core story of adolescence really highlights some incredible work that not only CYD programs are doing, but are essential to that, again, of entrepreneurship. She says that young people need spaces to safely try, fail, and try again. They also need warmth and support from caring adults to navigate strong emotions and learn how to handle stress. These are essential elements of CYD programming and in teaching entrepreneurship. So this report is highlighting these 7 skills, and I'm going to bring you through those for the remainder of this section. So first we have innovation and creativity. Firstly, entrepreneurship places a high value on innovation and creative problem solving, real world scenarios in which to build problem solving and decision-making skills. This aligns perfectly with the artistic activities in CYD programs, where young people are encouraged to think outside the box and look beyond traditional job roles and find new and exciting ways to use their skills and passions. Next, we look at autonomy and agency. Entrepreneurial thinking emphasizes autonomy and self-direction, another core principle of youth-centered development. It empowers young individuals to take charge of their vocational paths, fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility for their careers, centering and uplifting youth leadership and youth voice. Next, we look at risk-taking and resilience. So entrepreneurship also teaches the importance of risk-taking and learning from failure, which are essential for growth in young people. CYD initiatives reinforce these lessons by helping young people navigate challenges and with resilience through their art making. They're providing a safe and satisfying way to explore the world and test out these new ideas and experiences. Next, we look at adaptability and flexibility. An entrepreneurial mindset is adaptable and flexible, which is vital in today's fast-changing world. CYD programs help young people become responsive to the complexities of their communities. Similarly, entrepreneurial development prepares them to pivot and evolve their careers as new opportunities and challenges arise. Next, we look at the economic and social impact of these programs. So we know in that incredible 2015 Arts and Economic Impact Report, we found that the arts generated over $166.3 billion in economic activity for us. And so knowing that entrepreneurship aims to address societal needs and create positive social impact, a goal shared by CYD programs, it encourages young people to consider how their vocational choices can contribute to society. In CYD spaces, producing meaningful creative work that benefits the community is a key measure of that success. These avenues are able to help develop a sense of meaning, identity, and purpose by contributing to the friends, families, and communities in these programs. Next, we think about networking and collaboration. We know that those are crucial to entrepreneurship, just as they are in CYD programming, where joint projects are very common. These skills help young people build valuable relationships and learn to work effectively with others, which is essential to today's work environments. These opportunities to cooperate and collaborate across racial, economic, and cultural differences really ensure that these networking and collaborative elements of these programming really creates an opportunity for young people to really think outside the box and bring people into what they're doing with their artistic work. And then lastly, we have the lifelong learning and curiosity piece. So entrepreneurship is about continuous learning and staying curious, which aligns with CYD's emphasis on lifelong learning and exploration. This approach ensures that young people remain agile and open to new knowledge throughout their careers. So in closing, and I also urge you to please, if you haven't, to go back through and read this incredible report. Entrepreneurship and CYD programs are so closely aligned in so many ways. Integrating these principles into these programs allows us to help young people develop skills for both personal and professional success. Through our continued collaborative efforts, we will continue to uplift these programs and youth by fostering innovation, autonomy, resilience, adaptability, social impact, collaboration, and lifelong learning. So please feel free to drop any questions or thoughts in the chat. And thank you for your time, and on to the next person.
Thank you so much for sharing that informative presentation with us, Alexis. Like they said, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll get to them shortly. I would like to welcome our amazing panel of speakers. We're honored to have them and their insights and their experiences shared with us today. I'll ask each one of them to make a short introduction, and then we'll dive into some questions. First up, can we please welcome Anj, co-founder of Rivet.
Hi, everyone, by the way. Sharing screen. I think I need you to stop sharing so I can share.
And you can actually move through the slides.
Just do that, okay.
Yeah, just hit the next slide, yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Anj. Quick background, grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. To a family of artists, rapper and musician myself, and started building Rivet out of a personal problem. When I was putting out my second album and essentially found out what I was doing to understand who had come to a show, bought something from me, engaged with me in some way in the past was manual, distributed, and using that information in any way going forward was very frustrating to use. So I paused creations of my own, started trying to solve that problem for myself. That led me down a path of talking to over 200 artists and managers to figure out how they were nurturing their communities and how they're harnessing data from their fan interactions. And we started building Rivet, which I'll talk a little bit about here. So what's Rivet? Rivet's an AI-powered platform that makes artists successful businesses. We're a marketing and community platform that helps management companies, labels, artists find and identify their top fans across social platforms, commerce platforms, different places where they engage, and lean into them with things like exclusives, offers, discounts, so that they can increase their D2C revenue. And we also help them tell when fans have been less active, disengaged, take steps to re-engage them using the intelligence and automations on the platform. So this is me, in case you didn't believe I was an actual artist, performing. My dad, who's also an artist, and just growing up in that environment in Nigeria was my first exposure to entrepreneurship through art, and also just how you could build a business around creativity. That was when I first fell in love with the ideas of expression and expression as a full career, and what led me to ultimately pursue the path that I'm on today. And this is just some more pictures of me doing my thing. So going back to the problem and kind of what is at the core of Rivet, managing and monetizing fragmented fan communities for these musicians is a process that's complex, manual, and time-consuming. There's a bunch of platforms that they need to be on that they manage audiences and interactions and engagement on separately. And so ultimately going from someone who learns about you, who interacts with you on a social platform to a point of transaction where you can actually monetize or grow that relationship is a very difficult process, and one that they struggle with, spend tons of money and time on, and ultimately I'm very successful with. So what Rivet does is is by providing this AI powered platform, we're able to help them, one, understand the relationships across those platforms that are most valuable, highest intent, but also own most of that data, because what ends up happening is those platforms are essentially third-party platforms. They don't own those relationships. Those relationships can be taken away at any time. But what they can own is direct access through an email, direct access through text messaging, direct access through some other form of communication. And that's really the path where we see acts that have 50,000 fans can now generate meaningful amounts of revenue per year to have sustainable businesses and can make at least 80K a year. And we're seeing that more often. And that's by being able to market and sell directly to their fans and cut out these middlemen. So a lot of what we do to enable them to do that is gamifying engagement by exclusives, enabling them to cross-pollinate fan data across these platforms, and then using our automations and AI in the platform to streamline workflows that were very manual prior or that just require a lot more expertise. So this is in more visually what that looks like, integrating with current existing places where fans are engaging. So fans don't have to have a new app. They can engage with you where they already are. But that data gets funneled into one place. And then from that place, you can go from data and analytics to actually actioning that, whether that's to message, to reach out, to monetize, to sell, and do that in a much more streamlined fashion. And this is the team that I'm privileged and honored to work on this with. Met my co-founders at MIT. They have backgrounds in machine learning and joined me, who was also an engineering background and came from a more creative field. They published research in machine learning, worked in the aerospace industry, and now they're working in a much more difficult and fun industry, music. So in a nutshell, that's Rivet. And what we're really doing is building this future of business and community for musicians. And that's my story and how we got here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Anj. Next, we have Victoria, musician, founder, and CEO of ISL.
Hi everyone, I'm Victoria Standoak. I'm a musician and I'm founder and CEO of ISL. I am a musician based in Seattle, Washington, and I started my music career when I was 17 through the Bridge Music Project. And now I am 19 years old and I'm launching my business, my clothing business in ISL in this fall. So today I'm going to be sharing you about how I started my journey with the Bridge Music Project and how I'm going to be starting and branching off into my business and my musician career and how that's been taking off. I started the Bridge Music Project, a nonprofit organization that teaches youth music and songwriting when I was 17. Within the Bridge, I have performed at conferences, shows, panels, and festivals locally throughout Washington for 2 years. Recently this year, I started to travel outside of state to Washington, D.C., Chicago, and next month I will be performing in New York City. Throughout my time with the Bridge, I have learned about myself, I found my voice, and developed an even more stronger passion for music and community. 2 years within the Bridge, I have gotten inspired by their passion, core values, and their actions pouring into the community. So I decided to be inspired. I wanted to inspire others, not only just through music, but through fashion, something people could wear, embrace, and feel comfortable and confident in. So I got inspired by this one piece of clothing you see me wearing, the Bridge hoodie. And every time I've kind of performed with that hoodie, it always gave me an embrace of confidence. And it really made me feel like I was representing, and I really want to give that to others. ISL. This is ISL. ISL stands for I'm Still Learning. And I wanted this to be a daily reminder that no matter where you are in life, you will always be learning something new. So by wearing our attire, I hope you will feel confident and hopefully comfortable by wearing our attire. ISL's mission is through fashion and music that ISL wants to send message that no matter what age you are, you will always be learning something new about yourself, your life, and the world around you. ISL's vision is to encourage everyone throughout their life to get to know, grow, and understand themselves, hoping to spread a message of light and empowerment through fashion and music from generation to generations. This is also a new sneak peek for our new arrivals that will be launching this fall. So I hope everyone gets a good look. The purpose and process. These are some of the steps that I've taken for ISL to come to life, down to budgeting, expenses, researching, and brainstorming. These are some goals for the future of ISL. We aspire to continue to build and inspire our community with our vision of comfortable and meaningful attire. We inspire to expand ISL by receiving feedback from our community. We inspire to bring generations together and empower them through our mission that no matter what age you are, you will always be learning something new about yourself, your life, and the world around you. Thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for sharing with us. We do have one question. It says, where can you purchase the ISL products? So if you can maybe drop the link in the chat, I think that'd be really helpful. I definitely want to check it out. Lastly, I'd like to welcome Alonzo, co-founder of Delta Knight Gaming.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me? Can anybody hear me? Okay, gotcha. My name is Alonzo Wilson, and I am the co-founder of Delta Knights Gaming. I grew up in a small town called Clarksdale with a pretty small population, about maybe like 13,000 people. There wasn't really a whole lot to do here. The most fun activity outside of school sports was probably going to the toy section at Walmart. I ended up getting this like love for video games alongside a few more of my other friends, and we wanted this career in competitive gaming, which I got to experience a little bit. I also job hop around at like a few other like community orientated like workspaces, and I finally decided that I just wanted to build my own with the help of a friend, and together me and him developed Delta Knights Gaming. As I said, we originally had started to be this professional gaming teams, but as we worked more in our communities, we wanted to be this community orientated like business. We wanted to work with younger people. We wanted to make sure that there was things for them to do. There was role models in the community for them to follow or look up to. We turned away from gaming in a professional way, and we started a content creation. We started by trying to build a network of people that saying, hey, we do this or we want to do this. We work with kids saying like, oh, we do this. Y'all watch YouTube, go look at us on here or whatever. Our doing it alone was pretty hard. We started growing and reaching out to other like small creators in the community, working with them to develop like products and come up with events down the line to hopefully re-engage youth as well. And what Delta Knights does is we generate our revenue by posting a lot via social media platforms and creating content. We like to get involved with people and let them get exposed to our content. So we do this thing called guest streamer, where we bring somebody on and we pay them to play a game and just experience it for a few hours. But this last year, we started a project called Tall Tale Tavern, which was this fantasy themed cafe that sold coffee and other fantasy themed products that were created by local or small artisans in like the community or close to really get out there. And we also use Dungeons and Dragons as a source to when we engage with our younger people to teach them about storytelling and creative writing. And yeah, lastly, these are just a few things that we've done in the past through our networking and also working with them. We had D&D sessions with kids that really like helped increase their vocabulary, helped increase their storytelling. We've got some very fun merch from local artisans that really just show like how creative that people in your local community can be. With a very reasonable amount of coffee, and we also got to be part of, I think, the 2022 Super Bowl ad for Power of the Patience movement. So our end goal here is to just give the younger people in the community a set of role models that they can look up to, but also provide resources for them to be able to kind of work and experience things that they wouldn't normally find in their community.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's actually crazy. We're trying to get a D&D campaign started here too. It's cool hearing other creatives trying to integrate that into their curriculum as well. We're going to move on to our interactive session and ask some sort of questions that can help us all future bridge the entrepreneurship and CYD efforts. If you have questions for the group, please drop them in the chat. I'm going to start with our first question. So between the three panelists, whoever wants to kind of just hop between, answer the questions, we want to hear from you all. What lessons and skills did you take away from the CYD programs that you participated in? What skills stood out to you as like valuable, and which would you recommend for other programs to incorporate?
So one thing I took away from so one of the youth programs I participated in was it was a workforce development program by a coffee shop actually here called Meraki Roasting Company. And one thing I really learned there was the working with your coworkers or being like a or understanding customers and also understanding your coworkers and just people in general, because everybody that comes through there has like this different story. You know, you'll get those customers with attitudes that you just have to you understand why they have it. You'll learn their story as you talk to them more, and it really open my eyes to even outside of it. Like, you know, if I bump into this person in public and they acting like this, maybe they have something going on. So, you know, don't start a big fuss about it and just, you know, see if you can help it, you know, see if you can help or just go about your day.
If anybody wants to chime in, you can. I can also go on to the next question.
Yeah, I was gonna say programs such as a Future Founders program that is kind of focused on helping young entrepreneurs, I guess, in their business, and learned a lot about leveraging mentors, and that's just something that I've always learned through different programs. Basically, what we have to our benefit is, I guess, our youth, our scrappiness, and the fact that we're able to do things quickly and take more risks. But what we don't have is like a ton of experience in terms of like running multiple businesses or leading teams or doing things like that. So really leveraging been there, done that people, and having a trusted circle that you can be honest with, and but just has a ton more experience than you, I think has been one of the most helpful things for me to learn. And then the other thing has been basically getting comfortable with asking. And I think it goes to the point of also giving. That was made right before me. To be good or to just like have, I guess, success in this, you have to you end up asking for a lot and getting a lot from people. So you have to get comfortable with that, but then also have a giving mindset, so you feel like there's a little bit of balance there. But you can't really get much done. You're always asking people for things, so you need to just get comfortable with being that person, because that helps grow your business and grows you.
I would like to chime in. One of the biggest lessons I've learned with OYCD programs, I was in the Bridge Music Project. I would say one of the biggest lessons was probably taking, like, it's okay to take risk. But by even doing that, I remember I was doing like an open mic. They had a little open mic thing going on, and I was very like nervous. I was very reserved at the time. And what provided me to even take that risk to even hop on the mic was they created a safe space. And I think that's really important. It was very welcoming space. And I think all programs should definitely, that should be one of their core values is to have a safe space for everybody. So definitely taking that risk, it will be very helpful.
I think safe space is important for all type of things. One thing we're trying to get instilled in a lot of the programming and festivals that we're involved in is a neurodivergent like cool down to it. And if everything is one thing I try to instill in my work is that if it's accessible, it's better for everybody. So I think those are always really, really good. And then I'm going to chime into personally, I think one thing that I see a lot, especially with creative youth development, is you don't really have to develop like skills like most youth development programs I've seen. Like you don't really have to teach them skills, like they have the talent. A big thing that I really appreciated was the like professional workshop skills. So I never even knew what an EPK was. I just was like cold DMing places like, hey, can I DJ? Hey, I'll hop on this show. And then now we sat down and for those of you who don't know, it's an electronic press kit. And it's basically like pictures and all of my like stats of social media and just some links to different like sounds you might hear from me, my SoundCloud link, different stuff like that. And I think that's really important because as artists, we're thinking about the art and we don't always have the knowledge and skills to market ourselves, especially to people who aren't artists. Like a lot of the people that are looking to book artists aren't artists themselves, especially when it comes to working with corporate and these types of things. So being able to have like a packet and a one pager to be like, hey, this is what I do, and like business speak is really helpful and really game changing. I'm going to chime in on this question from the chat. It says, I'm curious how the panelists define a safe space. I know personally we go by like ADA rules, and I'm neurodivergent myself and host a lot of neurodivergent spaces. So we try to like adhere to those. Anything like understimulating, a place to like decompress is really big, especially within music industries and like parties and stuff. It can be a lot of stimulation, a lot of lights, a lot of smells, sorry, it's lightning and thundering here. So I know that's a safe space for us, and anywhere that is kind of just a space to get away from whatever's going on in the current moment. I'm gonna hop on to question number 2. What role did mentorship play in your entrepreneurship journey, and how can young people leverage this resource to their advantage? I think this is a really important one.
I think for me, mentorship played a great role. I had so my mentor, what she would do is, I don't think she purposely did it, but she would work on connecting me with these people that knew like tons more things than I did, that had like some type of slight crossover where things align. And she would set us down to meet, and she was supposed to be there to kind of navigate the conversation, but she always got busy and never showed up. So it was just either me being left in the middle of something and not knowing what to do and saying, hey, I gotta figure something out, or it was me just having to take the initiative and make that conversation or connection myself. And I used to be upset about it, but as it went on, I was like, man, that really helped me a lot, because man, I did not like taking initiative, and it was just really hard back then. And so I think there was something she did do, which was I think her alone making those connections and knowing that I needed those connections was a big role in helping me just start to take more initiative and also make those connections to get where I needed.
Anybody else want to share about their experience with mentorship?
Yeah, I
can
can
share.
share some stuff. Yeah, no, feel free, go for it.
Oh yeah, okay. I would say so. I was with the bridge again, and I had a lot of mentors, but my main mentor at the time, his name is Chris P. And we were doing. I was part of a singer songwriter workshop. So basically, during this workshop, we would be in groups, and I had a group, and he was basically like, be open to create whatever you want, like very free. I didn't feel like I was like in a box, and I think that's really important when it comes to creating, or people who just want to create things. When you're being put in a box, it's really hard to move around and feel free to create whatever you want. And it plays a big part in my journey with entrepreneurship, because when you're first starting out with an idea, you could have so much or you could have so little, but also like telling yourself, this is my space. I can create whatever I could put my mind to. Giving yourself that encouragement. Crispy really inspired me to, go above and beyond and to be free and to be myself. And that played a really big role for me.
Yeah, so mentorship, I think I kind of touched on this in the first response also. I think it's probably the single most useful thing, I think, that I found. And I think in my journey, it's been everything from founders who navigated the same spaces as me beforehand. Just if I'm about to have a big conversation, being able to prep it with them, or work on a pitch with them, to connections to certain people, to doors that would otherwise not have been open to me, that were open to me. And I think a lot of that, I think networking gets like, people think of networking, and networking gets just kind of a bad rep because it feels sort of transactional. And I just think about it as kind of community building. And that's the way that I think has helped me in terms of, I will randomly like hit them up on their birthday, or on like if I see something about their alma mater, like the most random thing, because like we're actually just people who happen to like talk and like do stuff related to business together. But this is not just like a business relationship where I only hit you when I have a question, or I'm trying to pitch this person, I only hit you. I think it's important to cultivate those relationships intentionally, and just like your other friendships, we always, since the beginning, have sent out a monthly update email. So basically, anyone who's ever helped me in any way, take me to coffee, introduce me to anyone, like and cares to be updated on what we're doing, gets that. So they hear from me every month, and that's a great way for them to feel like they're on the journey with me and seeing how things are evolving. So if I do need to ask them for something, it's not like, oh, I haven't heard from you in 1 year and you're just asking me for something. It's like, oh, you've been doing this thing, I've been seeing it. And there we also put our ask in. So people will be like, here's what's happened, here's what's changed, here's also some things that we need. And people will just respond to that and help us. But at the very least, they see that and it's like, okay, here's what he did with my advice, or like he's still doing this thing. And it's a very low touch way to kind of keep in touch and cultivate those relationships. Yeah, so I think those, I would say, is everything that I hadn't done before, which is pretty much everything. Mentors were super helpful for telling me how to do it, both tactically, strategically, but also being people who helped me run through things before I had to do them for real. And that was very, very helpful.
Thank you all for sharing. Mentorship for me personally is a little different because we're a big family here. But when I first got here, I was an intern and I was actually homeless, and it took them like almost forcing the mentorship on to me because I just didn't accept help very easily. And I think that Anne spoke about this earlier, is it's asking for help. And that mentor kind of teaches you how to ask for help. So you learn how to ask for help with these like safe people who probably won't say no, or if they do say no, it's like they'll steer you in the right direction or whatever. But you get that experience of like receiving help and asking for help in like a safer environment, which I think is helpful, especially for young people and especially for like marginalized communities who don't always have the best experience with asking for help. Next question. How can CYD programs teach young people to take risks and learn from failure? How have you personally benefited from taking risks in your business?
Yeah, I think I can start. I think I think is the best way to encourage people is stuff like this, showing positive examples of people who have taken risks and that they can very tangibly point to. I think that was very helpful in my journey. Was just, okay, here's another musician who started a business, or one of my mentors is someone um, who studied classically, was classically trained, and then later on in a career, and then practiced as a musician, and later on in a career, pivoted to software engineering, and then started a software business and raised venture capital and built that business. And that just was something that I could look to as basically she just showed that you can do anything. But like seeing someone who actually did something that is like anything, or that is unlike anything, it's like, oh, okay, now I have like a tangible thing I can look to and aspire to. And multiple examples of Black people raising venture capital, starting their businesses, things like that, in creative fields, and just being able to look at those, point to those, in a lot of cases, meet those people and talk to them, just makes a lot of stuff feel realer. And so I think more opportunities to put people like that in front of people that you're encouraging to take risks just makes the risk not seem as alien or foreign, and a lot more attainable and achievable. And in terms of my experience, if I think of like biggest risks, I think there've just been things that I guess going to college in a foreign country is not that big a risk. A lot of people do it, but it seemed like a big risk at the time. Starting the business right after college, also without really working a real job for any real amount of time, is also a big risk. How do you figure out paying your bills? How do you figure out all the things you need to do, and how do you figure out everything along the step, everything along your steps on the way, like hiring for the first time, raising money for the first time. We moved to Chicago last year, moving to a new city, working on the business, another risk. Like, it's just things that we just continue to do. And I think so far, I guess we can say they're somewhat paying off. But I've been encouraged to take those risks because of these people that I can point to very tangibly that have done outlandish things for their businesses, and they've worked out. So when faced with the decision point to take a risk in my business, it's a lot easier to rationalize taking it, even though the risks are different.
I think for us, we always say we get out the mud. We take nothing but risks here. And it's like another program that I have been a part of that I think also kind of speaks on that safe space is it gives you that safe space to fail. This program that I was in called it padded failure because everything was mock. It was like you came up with a business at the beginning of the program and you worked through your business. It was like a game ultimately. Nothing was real, but it was like real life scenarios and real life things. Like each week we were met with different tasks, and one day it was like, oh no, your business was broken, or no, like, and you had to deal with them accordingly. And you operated as if it was real and everything like that, but it gave you the opportunity to fail without the consequences. I mean, yeah, like you would get upset because your business, or like it was a competition between the whole class. So, you fall points behind the next person, and that's upsetting. Like, you didn't lose money, or your actual business didn't fail. And then you can take those failures and move them into real life and apply those to the real world. All right, the last question. What obstacles and challenges did you face in your entrepreneurial journey, and how did you overcome them? And what advice would you give to others facing the same problems?
I could go. One of my biggest fears, one of my biggest obstacles is fear, fear of success within my business. And every day I overcome that just by taking it one step at a time. I think if you would take just one step at a time and just focus on one thing, you'll get to the next thing. And my advice I would give to other people who are in that same, situation is: one, take a breath; two, give yourself encouragement. You are your biggest supporter. Three, I would also check in with myself and find solutions. If that's just taking a break, and then coming back to it, even asking for help. I know asking for help could be a really big thing. it could be a challenge, but at least give it a try. If you don't have the answer, somebody else can have the answer. And another thing, you could go back to your mentors. There's nothing wrong with that as well. And also, you could always get inspired by, doing something else, going outside, just a couple of solutions. So that's my answer.
Alonzo, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. So I think one of my biggest challenges was doing something different, because you have those people that's like, they say, that's different, I'm gonna stay away from that, or I don't know how they'll turn out. And then you also have those people that says, "Ooh, that's different, I want to see what this can become." And my advice for dealing with that is, you're gonna always have some type of negative feedback, but you're also gonna always have some type of positive feedback. You got to choose what negative feedback you want to grow off of, and you also have to choose what positive feedback you want to grow off of.
Yeah, and I could just touch on there. I think obstacles and challenges, probably the main ones is I think at the time when we started working on the business, it wasn't the greatest of markets, and also just generally it's difficult to pitch and raise money for like music related or creative related things. So definitely when we were fundraising, there was lots of no's, lots of rejections, which is pretty much a lot of people's stories when they do this, but it's very hard in creative industries. So that was definitely a big obstacle that we definitely needed to overcome. And how we overcame, I think, was just persisting, and understanding, relying on the mission and the strong team that we built, and just trusting in essentially the fundamentals of what we were doing, and that things would work out in the end. And just, I think there was something I read somewhere about companies or like entrepreneurs running out of, it's basically like entrepreneurs running out of steam is more a function of just like losing energy, and not really like losing capital or losing any kind of the more tangible things, because if you have energy, you still keep fighting, keep trying to get the things you need to keep the business moving. So it was just, I guess, staying energetic. And I would say advice to people in similar challenges is continue to just like lean on mentors to assure you that you're doing things the right way, and believing in process. Process doesn't always work out exactly as you want or exactly as advertised, but a lot of the time, if you follow a process that works for a lot of people, your chances are better. So just relying on people who have done what you're trying to do before, and just making sure that you're following processes, and things generally tend to work out. And if they don't, like, you learn from the process. Like there's always some positive to be taken from failure, and also just being open to that as well, because I think those allow you to be more successful in whatever you do.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest obstacles that I experienced, even as an entrepreneur within self, because I feel like the thing that creatives don't get a lot of credit for is like treat like themselves as a business. Like, yes, we might also have a business that we operate, but a lot of us have to be the business. Like when I DJ, I try to explain to everybody, you're seeing the talent, the management, the marketing, I make my own merch, like everything is right here. And my biggest thing was like, how do you do it all? Yeah, somebody just said you're the product and the whole team. Yeah, exactly. And my biggest challenge was fighting between doing it all and it being like it gets done, and like bringing other people in, or like even just collaborating with people and having people help me. Like we talked about, help is sometimes hard to ask for, and even just accept, because I know myself, I feel like if I don't do it, it's not done right, or like I like things a certain way and I don't want to bother people with my nitpicking. So I would rather just do it within myself. But as I was talking earlier about culture creators, we have a thing that like everyone comes out with something themselves. And one of our residents, he goes by Bradley Hispanic, Xavier, you guys who know him, he and some of his friends have a media group now, and they do media management. So he now runs my like Patreon for me, and he does all of my YouTube and that kind of stuff. And it took so much pressure off of, and we do open call, like open work hours. So even if it's not somebody doing everything for me, I now have a place to like bring this project, or like, hey, does this video look good? Or would you subscribe if this was one tier of my Patreon? So I think knowing how to like price yourself and market yourself as a creative was really, really hard. And my suggestions to anybody is double your price and then add tax, because we all are very, very good at underestimating ourselves when it comes to pricing. We're going to switch into breakout sessions so we can dive deeper into some of these conversations. I just want to thank you to all of our panelists. The comments and insightful words were amazing and really, really helpful to myself, and I hope everybody else in this. So as we get into these breakout sessions, I want you to keep in mind that the question for today is, what are some of the CYD program elements that you have seen that led to an impactful result in teaching young people entrepreneurial skills? Each group will select one person, so make sure you guys are listening, and then make sure you guys select one person to share out when we come back. See you guys in a minute. I'm gonna give it a few seconds for everyone to filter back in. Open up the chat again in case I miss anything. All right, sweet. Just want to welcome everyone back. I hope you guys had engaging discussions. And I'm really excited to hear back some of your highlights. So I'm going to call out the groups, and then whoever was nominated in that group can share. So first, we're going to go with somebody from Alexis group.
None of Alexis group are back just yet.
Okay.
Give it 5 seconds.
Of course, they're the first ones. Perfect. Now, welcome back. I hope everyone had great discussions. I know ours was really dynamic and interesting, and I'm excited to hear synopsis of other people's. I'm going to call by group. So first, if anybody wants to share from Alexis group.
I can share. Hey, I'm Julian Whitfield. I'm the Director of Programs at Brandon House Performing Arts and Cultural Center. We host kids that are 6 through 12, and we host another group that is 13 through 18. One group called Dream Starters and another group called Fall In, which is kind of coined for when we go back into school, but we keep it going and call it Fall In Summer Programming. One thing we talked about was ways to have entrepreneurship through performing arts. And I was speaking on, just the process of learning kids that are 13 through 18 when it comes to the performing arts space. We have a lot of kids that go on stage and don't feel particularly comfortable, or don't really want to be in the limelight all the time. And I was just speaking on how it's very important to give children avenues in performing arts. In terms of production, in terms of editing, there's a lot of different avenues that kids can learn about performing arts, and it doesn't have to be on the stage. Just, given a chance to be with a production team that you might have at your site. Give them the camera, let them learn the camera, let them take the camera and take pictures of your site, let them help with website development, help them with videography. There's so many different avenues, and you don't really have to force feed the stage, because there's so many different ways to make money and to start a career in performing arts. So I just spoke on that, and yeah, that's what we talked about.
Thank you so much for sharing. The next group, I was in this group. Next group's Karen's group. I'm the speaker for the group. I kind of want to piggyback off what was just said. Sounded like you were talking about a youth-led work, and that's kind of what we also discussed, is letting the students lead it and kind of guide it, especially in an accessibility sense. Like I said, I work in the neurodivergent space, and one thing that a lot of programs, and especially like city funded or like state funded, often forget is that not everybody learns the same, and not everybody has the same accessibilities. So being able to kind of like even that playing field, I think, changes it, and then allowing the students to lead it and giving them that encouragement. One thing I spoke on is that a lot of the kids that I work with didn't know that some of these things were possible. Like even talking to this kid about how everything had to be designed, whether it be the street sign or this sign that you see driving past, or we were even like a fast food line. And I was like, somebody had to design this menu. So allowing them to accept all possibilities, that there are real jobs in the creative industry. I feel like a lot of the times, and a lot of like mentorship and just funding programs often push this like starving artist narrative. And so a lot of youth that I've had experience with are kind of scared and worried about job security. So just telling them that they can do it and letting them lead themselves through that path. Like the person before just said, that you don't have to be on stage. You can be in production, you can be lights, you can be sound, you can be camera. And nobody tells these kids that is possible. Nobody says like, hey, this is a thing and here's how you do it. So allowing those avenues to be explored is a synopsis of our group. The next group is Shanika's.
Yeah. I'll quickly jump in. We had a really rich discussion on several areas, and I'll highlight a few. We talked about the role of apprenticeships and paid projects and profit sharing for young people in their experience in these programs. We also talked about sequential training, whether it be in technology or other areas that would be beneficial to the young people when they are in the programs and when they leave, providing a safe space during these trainings. Once the student makes money, thinking about and working with them to talk about the best ways to use their money to further their work and invest in their expansion. Another key topic, which I'll conclude with, was the idea of digital badging. Providing credentials and endorsements that could be used for young people on their resumes, as well as on their social media platforms that revitalize their work and really demonstrate their professional activity in their field.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is so important. I'm just glad that was spoken on. The paid projects, I really like how you delved into like what happens after the payment, because no one teaches the youth, especially in Black and brown communities, how to manage their money. And especially as like again, like I said, like you are the business yourself. How do you invest back in yourself and your equipment and all of that? And then I think that's all really, really important. I really like what your group discussed. And then last but not least, Luke, if you want to share, or the person from your group wants to share.
I think Alonzo is going to step up for us.
Hello again, everybody. So, yeah, my group definitely had a lot of great points, and I think one of the main points that I want to focus on, they kind of go hand in hand. So one was sharing with your parent or guardians that creative skill. Because I feel like a lot of youth might just not openly share them. Like they know what they're good at, but they may not share it. And then also we talked about the parents and other adults, like some creative skills not really being seen as like workforce skills or whatever. So it causes like a lot of backlash or maybe not a lot of support because you don't think it's like a viable or adults don't think it's like a viable way for them to go into the future without any like some type of stable income generation. And we talked about talking between different audiences, like trying to like marketing yourself, like if you how you talk to the younger people or how you talk to the older people differently. Then making like activities that youth can enjoy instead of like just activities that are there and forcing it kind of on them. And then we also went over youth engagement, like the best like practices to get those youth involved, and referencing a method called Heartsetter youth engagement. Two of the best ways are having them work alongside you in decision making and also having them lead decision and where you can just kind of input when you need it or when they ask for it, but they're really leading and they're really coming up with those like ideas for youth engagement themselves as youth.
Thank you so much for sharing. Something that stood out to me that you said was the sharing between parents. I used to be in this program that we taught kids how to cook to combat childhood obesity, because if you teach them how to cook in underdeveloped homes, they go and teach their parents that, and then it creates a bond between parent and child, and it also shares a meal, and they can teach those skills. And we seen a lot of success, and it was simple things like we taught them how to make like pepper fajitas. The theme of the week was peppers and getting kids to try peppers and understand the basics of bell peppers. But we saw such a great impact of the kids running home, and even the parents who have never tried bell peppers or never had an interest in trying bell peppers, trying them for the kids and coming back and telling us their experience with that. So I think the sharing between guardians and even peers is really, really important. And one thing I was always taught in culinary school is if you can teach it, you know it. And that was our test, is can you teach it to other people? Because that's how you can confirm that you know it. So I think that's really, really important. We're going to wrap things up. Let's see. I just want to make sure that there aren't any questions right now in the chat. Okay, perfect. And I want to thank you everyone for sharing those insights with us and participating. I know these conversations can not always be the most interesting, but I really appreciate everybody's input. I want to do a special thanks to our partners. We are culture creators, the Bridge Music Project, future founders. There's one. Graphic arts. I don't have control over, so we can do the next one. Thanks. You can check out our website and follow us on Instagram to keep update and see what content we have coming out soon. We also just launched an open mic page on our website. It's a space for creative youth development organizations to share creative projects that they've produced by their young leaders. Check it out and submit your projects. I know that we are, and I'm really excited for the project that we're going to submit. There's an online form that you can submit it through. Yep. And everybody have a wonderful day. It is the summer solstice. Today is the longest day of the year. So make sure you do with that as you will. Have a great, wonderful day.